Hey, boys and girls, glad to be back again for another Wednesday night Bible class. We're going to jump into Mark chapter 6 this week, and we want to start out by thinking about the word respect. I know at school, we have some traditions and some things that we do out of respect. You know, we use our manners, we talk kindly to one another, but something else that we do, at most schools we do it every day, is we say the Pledge of Allegiance. We show our respect for our country and for the people who serve our country by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. You might have seen military people or veterans around town. Your school may even do something special to honor them. And that's a word that kind of goes with respect, honor. It's a way of showing our appreciation for someone or something. And so in Mark chapter 6, we're going to focus on the ideas of respect and honor. So I want you to just take a second to stop and think, who do you respect or honor? Could it be mom and dad? Maybe an aunt or an uncle, a police officer, doctors, maybe your teacher? Who do you respect? Have you ever had a time where you saw something that shouldn't have happened? Maybe someone who should have had respect didn't get the respect that they deserved. Jesus battled with that a lot. And we're going to look at that right here in the beginning of Mark chapter 6. Jesus goes back to his hometown of Nazareth. This is where he was born, where he was raised, okay? This is where his family lived. He was in Nazareth. So everybody in his community saw him as a baby, as a toddler, as a kid your age, all the way through a teenager and an adult. They watched him grow up to become a man. And when Jesus left and came back to visit, they'd heard about all the things that he was doing, but they were like, Jesus? The Jesus we know, the Jesus that was, just down the street from me, that guy who lives down there, son of Mary and Joseph, really? That Jesus is the one who's the Son of God? If you read in Mark chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, you learn and read that Jesus, even though he was the Son of God, the people in his own hometown didn't believe in that. They didn't believe it because they had seen the way he grew up. They watched him learn how to be a carpenter. They watched him play games with their kids, or maybe they were one of the kids. They rejected Jesus, and they didn't show respect or honor. Now, we know if we had the privilege of meeting Jesus, we would show just an incredible amount of respect and honor. We would show adoration for him because we know all about him. We know he lived this perfect life. But for those who saw him as a little boy and grow up to be a man, they didn't see him quite the same. So they didn't show the respect and honor that he deserved. In fact, we even read that Jesus didn't perform very many miracles while he was there. Now, we have in the Bible a record of a lot of the miracles that he performed. We don't have every single miracle documented in the Bible, but we know of a lot of them. Very few actually happened in Nazareth. The reason is because the people didn't put their faith in Jesus. They didn't believe that he was the Son of God. And so they weren't trusting that he could heal them. He could raise people from the dead. They did not care to even witness these miracles because they thought, it's just Jesus. Really disappointing. How do you think it made Jesus feel? These people that he knew almost his entire life to now reject him, to not respect him. But then we jump into verse 7, and we actually have the exact opposite of verses 1 through 6. Starting in verse 7 all the way to 13, we have where Jesus sends out the 12 apostles. So he has this tight-knit group of men. They are putting their complete faith and trust in Jesus and his mission, his message. They are putting everything on the line for him. And Jesus says to them, I want you to go out into the world. He sends them out 2 by 2, and he gave them authority over the unclean spirits. He told them, take nothing with you, no money, no bags, don't even wear 2 tunics, just your sandals, go. And if somebody lets you in, you stay there until you leave. But if they don't believe you and the message you bring to them, you step out their front door, you shake the dust off your sandals, and you go on your way. He said, if they aren't understanding the message and how important this information is, you did your job. Move on. They'll learn. And so it's amazing because in verses 1 through 6, the people from Nazareth are rejecting Jesus. They're showing no respect, no honor. And then in 7 through 13, the 12 apostles are showing an immense amount of respect and honor because Jesus is giving them instructions and they just listen, they go, and they do exactly what he's asked for. They go out, groups of 2, and they're there to preach the message. They cast out demons. They heal those who are sick. They were proclaiming the word of Jesus everywhere they went. They showed him respect and honor in their actions. Can you think of a time where you wanted to share something, but you weren't sure how to go about that? Have you ever had a situation where somebody says, I need you to go and tell so-and-so to do this? I know as a mom that I've had one of my boys come and say, my brother, he took my toy and, I was playing with it. And I told him to give it back and they didn't give it back to me. So either mama goes in there and I get on to the boys, or I'll say, you tell your brother, mama said, give it back. There's authority behind the words mama said or daddy said. But when one of my boys goes to tell their brothers, the other brother isn't listening very well. When you add mama said, do this, it changes things. The same happened with the apostles. Jesus told them, go and do this. So they did it. They had this level of respect and honor that just rises above anything else. Have you ever had a moment where you were told to go and do something, and because you respected them, you obeyed, even if it made you feel uncomfortable? Stop and think about that. I want to look towards the end of chapter 6. There's a story that we are so familiar with. It's one that we start telling and teaching you all when you're just itty bitty babies. And you've heard this story hundreds of times. But I'm hoping that this time, when we talk about it, and when we learn, maybe you'll think about it just a little bit differently. Talking about Jesus feeding the 5,000. I know you guys are like, oh yeah, I know what this story is all about. We have to come to an understanding that this wasn't just about the miracle of Jesus feeding more than 5,000 people. Think about how respect and honor fit in with this story. So we look in, starting in verse 30, the apostles returned to Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. And he said to them, come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while. They were coming and going. They didn't have time to rest. They didn't even have time to eat. And as they were trying to leave and go off on their own, all these people noticed the apostles and Jesus. And they left their town and followed them on the hillside. And they wanted to be a part of Jesus's teaching and preaching. Now, because they'd abandoned what they were doing, they just came over to see what was going on. There was this ginormous crowd of people. And Jesus realized, oh, goodness. I mean, it's eating time. And he had compassion on them. They abandoned what they were doing in their homes, in their fields, in their workplaces, because they had respect for Jesus and they wanted to hear his message. For that reason, Jesus had compassion on them. Think back to Nazareth, the people in his hometown. They didn't have any respect for Jesus in the way that we would. He didn't perform very many miracles there because they weren't believing. They weren't putting their faith in Jesus. So he didn't do much for them. But here we have this major crowd of people, men, women, children, and they want to hear the message he has. And because of their faith, because of their respect, he has compassion on them. He saw them like sheep, and he was the shepherd. So he began to teach them. Remember, he was tired. The apostles were tired. They were ready to eat. But they had a crowd that was just dying to hear his message. So when it grew late, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place and the hour is late. Send them all away to their surrounding countryside and villages to get something to eat." But Jesus answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they said, 5 loaves and 2 fish. Then he commanded them to sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in their groups by the hundreds and by the 50s. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, Jesus looked up to heaven. He said a blessing, and he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. He divided the 2 fish among them all, and they all ate, and they were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. And those who ate the loaves were 5,000 men. This was quite a miracle. And that's why we talk about how this is a story about Jesus we teach you when you're just itty bitty babies. Jesus feeding the 5,000. It's an amazing miracle. And it's one of the only miracles that's mentioned in all 4 Gospels. But we have to understand the reason this miracle happened was because of the mutual respect. Like we read before, Jesus saw them as sheep. They were willing to follow him, whatever that meant. Sometimes we forget, we talk about sheep a lot in the Bible, but something that you may not realize is that sheep are going to follow their leader, and they'll go wherever the leader goes. They're different from pigs that we talked about in a previous lesson. The sheep are going to follow wherever the leader takes them. And if that means he's going to walk them off a cliff and they fall, then they go. The people were dying to hear this amazing message. They wanted the good news. They abandoned everything so that they could be a part of his message. Because of their respect and their honor of just abandoning things, Jesus looked at them as sheep and said, "I'm their shepherd. I need to provide for them." They respected and honored Jesus, but he did the same for them. So as amazing as this miracle is, it's also an amazing story about Jesus because of the mutual respect and honor. Jesus saw them with their hearts open, willing to learn, yearning for this information. And so he honored them by providing a meal and preaching to them and their families. So many times we look at things in the Bible and we just think about how amazing Jesus is. We miss those opportunities where it's not just about the miracle, but it's about the respect from Jesus's followers and from Jesus himself. So how is it that we can show Jesus respect and honor? What is it that you could do today, tomorrow, this weekend, next week? What is it that you can do to show your respect and your honor for Jesus in doing something for someone else? How do we show respect and honor to our parents? I know in our house, we expect our boys to obey mommy and daddy. We expect that they have responsibilities around the house. We expect them to take care of schoolwork or homework. We do certain things because of our level of respect and honor. So what are you going to do when you step outside your door? What are you going to do to show others the respect and honor that you have for Jesus? I want to challenge you this week. Think about how you can serve someone else because of your love for Christ, because you respect him, because you honor him. How can you serve someone else? I'd love to hear from you all. What are you doing to show your love and respect and honor for Jesus? So have your parents send me a text message or post a message on Facebook to let me know. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye, guys. Thanks.